3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Cody Neer, a gentleman who has built over 300 six-figure e-commerce businesses since 2013, in addition to a ton of other incredibly cool stuff that we're going to talk about today. So without further ado, please put your digital hands together for Cody. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. I'm glad you could be here, and I really do appreciate your time. So let's jump right in. What is your story?
Yeah. All right. So growing up as a little kid, I thought I was going to play baseball. I thought I would make it to the major leagues. And sadly, obviously, the world slapped me down a little bit. Coming out of high school, I was the best catcher in high school, and going into college, I was best ranked, one of the best players in my class. Projected first round draft pick money and all this other stuff. I ended up signing with the University of Florida Gators, had a college career, went on to play professional baseball after college. And as I mentioned, your dreams don't always come true. It's a sad reality of the world. So after I finished my professional career in baseball, I didn't have any skills in life in general outside playing sports. That's when I was brought on to be a part of a brand new venture-backed startup called Zoom by Phone. We sold electronic checks and payment processing to vacation package companies in Orlando. And I was essentially a foot soldier. And what I did was I sold myself into equity as a partner in that business. I brought my athletic background, my leadership, my mentality to the business world, and realized I could be as successful selling and marketing advertising. After about 4 years in that business, I was in charge of our entire marketing advertising department and a sales team of about 35 people. We sold that company in 2013. And after that sale, my wife and I we looked at each other. What are we going to do now? Where are we going to go? By no means were we rich, or did we have a lot of money then, especially when you look at it in perspective. But as young mid-20s, we felt we had something that we still wanted to accomplish in life. We wanted to move cities. We wanted to travel. We wanted to learn the world. We moved to Minneapolis, Minnesota. My wife had aspirations still in her career, in life, being young. And she took a job at General Mills, which was really cool. Unique experience, one of the largest companies in the world. Everyone knows General Mills, right? Everyone loves cereal. So while we were in Minneapolis, I started contracting, started using the skills I learned in that first business, marketing, advertising, and I took a role with Thomson Reuters, which was awesome. We built FindLaw.com, which is one of the mecca platforms for lawyers these days. And during that tenure there was an opportunity to start a paid social media advertising group inside Target Corporation. So Target at the time had never ran paid social ads. They were dominating the world in Google and Bing. So I sold myself into that position, built a team around 40 people. We had a couple goals: drive sales to the .com, acquire customers for the Cartwheel app. And doing so, we were essentially the first use cases for downloading apps through Facebook ads. We were the first use case for running Twitter cards on Twitter. We spent $50+ million and drove over $300 million in sales to Target.com. We even started the initial offline sales conversion, which we kind of had an idea how to do this, but we didn't quite finish it out while we were there. But essentially what we do is an impression on a Facebook ad, a click. We would be able to track back that user if they bought something in a store via their credit card purchase, signing up for rewards or the Cartwheel app. So we were kind of the forefront on the offline conversion thing people now see inside Facebook. We did launch the Power Editor for Facebook, which has since come and gone. And that's kind of where I really got the depth of my experience in marketing advertising. We were 100% direct response focused. We were directly in charge of selling physical products. And after that, I felt like I was in the position in life to settle in but I always had that want more. I had that entrepreneurship, drive inside me. I had that athlete that I could always do better. And that I looked at it, was like, well, if I can drive this many sales, this much volume for Target, I could do it for myself. That's when I started my first e-commerce brand around 2015. I grew to a dozen plus e-commerce brands that were doing 8 figures going in 2018. And towards the end of 2018, I sold those stores to incomestore.com, which is the largest online buyer of web properties. They manage 2,000 plus web properties, and I created a partnership with them where I now manage over 300 e-commerce brands for them. And our projected goals are, over $100 million in revenue, 2019. The business model is unique. We take investors, we get them a net monthly return, and obviously my goal is to try to get them more than just their minimum requirements for that net return. So our team is now, 30 something strong right now. We're half remote. We have a 120 person team out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we're rocking and rolling. We're all direct response, paid Facebook, paid Google, direct response ads, selling physical products online.
Wow. That is awesome. So it seems like you came from the sports background, and it seems like you learned a lot of principles about leadership and team building. Can you talk about some of the core things that you really took from those experiences?
My position in baseball is the catcher. You're the field general. You're the leader. Not only was I the catcher on the field, but I was the cleanup hitter. So I always had that captain, leader of the team mentality. I was always the work twice as hard, be the best guy on the team, outwork everyone else, and had that mentality that there was no one better. And I felt like after baseball, I still had that mentality, but I didn't actually have the ability to go perform and do that. So that's why it transitioned into the business world. From leadership standpoint, I the same qualities I brought from athlete, being an athlete, was essentially you follow by doing, or you lead by doing. So I actually I constantly do it every day. I'm in the trenches. I run the ads. I build the stores. I run the funnels. I mean, I don't stop doing it. And that, I believe, is the best way. That's my leadership mentality. Some would call it tribal leadership. And that's essentially where someone follows. You don't care how maybe positive, destructive, pros, cons. You just go one way. And then the people that are going to follow you are going to follow you. And the people that won't will fall off that mountain. And at the end of the day, you're hopefully standing on top victoriously.
When you then moved from baseball into the next role, did your identity of self, did your view of self change? Like how did you deal with that?
So imagine spending your entire life trying to focus on one goal, in understanding that you'll not only will you not achieve the goal, but you'll never, ever, ever have the opportunity to ever reach that goal. And that was, playing Major League Baseball. It's pretty hard, pretty depressing. It's not a fun reality to face. However, while I was growing up, many of my best friends growing up were also, their career aspirations were to play Major League Baseball. So while I was transitioning out of baseball, they were actually getting full stride in Major League Baseball. Some of the best Hall of Famers right now in baseball, or my friends growing up, from Andrew McCutchen, to Ricky Weeks, to Jamal Weeks, to Jordan Schaefer. There's guys that are playing and pitching and still in their careers right now that I've realized I will never be there, and I'll never do that. So that is an intrinsic hurdle that I had to overcome to transition my mindset and my life over to something else. And luckily, business, entrepreneurship, luckily that was there for me, because I honestly don't know what mentally or what else I'd be doing right now if I didn't have business or something else to do.
So you then got into the business world, and a couple of times you said that you sold your way into different opportunities.
Yep.
How did you do that? Like, what's your secret sauce there?
Yeah. So the unfortunate part about life is that people think that skills are going to get them to where they need to go. And the number one thing that I've learned is I've had to sell myself into baseball. I had to sell myself into business. I had to sell myself to my clients. They did not care about anything except as long as they felt comfortable with the individual who they were doing business with, who they were paying, who they were handing over the keys to the kingdom to. I realized that people do not care. They want to hire you for a job, or you're going to get that job done. And it's your job to sell them on that you are the person, or you are the right fit for that job to get done. To be honest, sometimes I'd sell myself into positions and then have to figure out how to get it done after the fact. And I think that's okay. I think we're smart enough individuals to be able to read some books and watch some videos and figure it out. But the big thing is you got to sell yourself in the opportunity. And I think one day if I end up writing a book, that's literally going to be the title of my book. Is you got to sell yourself into the opportunity, because that's hands down the only thing that really has got me to where I'm at and where I'll hopefully go in life.
And I agree with you 100% that you have to sell yourself and you have to get yourself, up to the plate so that you can take the swing and you can keep swinging. But how do you sell yourself? Like, what are the actual actionable things that you do in order to sell yourself?
When people ask you questions of if you can or if you can't, the answer is always yes. And sadly, it's this what I live by. If someone asks me if I can do something, my answer is always yes, and I figure out who and how and what I got to do to get it done. It's never let me think about it. It's never do I second guess myself. If it's a tangible thing on earth, I mentally feel like I can get it done no matter what it is. And so my answer is always yes. If somebody asks me, can I do something? I sell myself by being so confident, so sure of myself, and so sure in the fact that I know I will go find the right people or find the right things to get the job done, that I make other people feel secure in doing business with me, trusting me, hiring me, or being a part of just, in my network. I give them the confidence in me that they'll never question.
So it seems like the two keys there are an unstoppable confidence in your ability to execute, but also the ability to articulate that confidence to the other person. Is there anything else that I'm missing there?
That's it. You've got to understand what they want, and then be able to, like you said, articulate that you're the person that's going to get it done.
When you started moving into the role of marketing and digital marketing and direct response, what were the similarities from everything that you'd been doing up till then that you kind of brought with you?
Yeah. So in marketing advertising, I always find that it's a convincing job. And as we just mentioned, when you got to sell yourself, you have to convince people that you're the man. And I think marketing advertising is the same way. You have to convince people why they should buy your product, why they should buy your service, why they should hire you, they should do business with you. And it's an ongoing daily process of trying to convince people and show them that they should have confidence in doing business with you. That's what I think, hands down, is why marketing advertising I can be successful at it, because it's direct response, and I have the opportunity to go at them and give them their best first impression, and then bring them through a life cycle of how to do business with me, and showing them that I am the guy that they need, or I am the company they need, or we have the service or the product they need. And that's kind of the exciting part of marketing advertising.
So do you think about like the psychology of the buyer? Do you think like what all do you think about when you're approaching a new project? Like, I'm sure you have a standard procedure or a specific way that you go about it. Like, what's your process? How do you build it out? Because it seems like you've been wildly successful in all of the marketing advertising that you've done. So I would love to learn more about your specific process, how you did it.
So I believe that you have to advertise and market to individuals where they and how they live. So I don't believe in trying to pull people into atmospheres or environments that they're uncomfortable with, bringing them content that they're uncomfortable with. I want to be essentially what the word native means. I want to be where they are at, speaking their language, whether that may be talking to someone in a certain vernacular, which means changing the dialect, always, all the way down to changing the grammar at which you use in your copy to target them. I don't want people to have to think that, is this for me? I want them to think, well, this person is just like me. That's why I want to do business with them. So I take that approach on our marketing advertising. We try to just be as much like the end user, the buyer, as possible. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. We just want them to feel comfortable every single time they make a buying decision, which is essentially just acting like we're just another one of them.
Does that involve a lot of research, a lot of getting into the mind of the buyer? Like, I would think that, and what I've seen a lot with people who do marketing advertising in the beginning is that they spend maybe 5% of their time researching and 95% of their time building and trying to execute. Like, how do you structure that time?
Yeah, so I obviously don't know everything there is to know about a lot in life. So let's take, for instance, if I'm going to sell makeup or skincare products, not my forte. What I'm going to do is, number one, I'm going to research it. Then I'm going to find somebody who does know that. And I'm going to get that individual who is the expert, and I'm going to rely on them to talk their language, to speak to them, to figure out where they live, learn, love, laugh, have fun, buy products from, and what products they do buy. And essentially find someone who is them and bring them on the team, or, pick their brain or research from them. That's how I go about it. I go about relationships first. So figure out the actual people who live in that world and try to learn from them. That's where the research lives. And then, yes, I am probably the exact opposite. I spend 95% research, 5% executing, because once you figure out who they are, where they live, what they do, it's just a matter of figuring out what they're going to buy and where. And that's the 5% execution side.
That's interesting. So you go for the relationships with the people who understand that market first, and then figure out, okay, who are these people? Where do they live? What do they want? And understand them at a fundamental level. And then, and only then, go out and build the marketing materials to suit them. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Nail on the head right there. I do that every single store we manage, every brand we build, every marketing piece that I've been a part of. And I learned that probably from the Target days. There's no one better than Target at, figuring out their brand demo and their ID of a buyer. And there's a long process to that, but it works clearly.
So you're doing some amazing things in the online space, and you're moving a lot of product and getting people the products that they need. Doing a lot of service for a lot of people, or providing a lot of service to a lot of people.
Yeah.
What drives you at the end of the day? Why do you do all this?
I'd be a liar if I didn't say number one was money. The reality is everything costs money. Everything around you involves money. And I'd be a liar if I didn't say that first. However, that's not the driving factor in why I do it. But I have to say that first, because, we don't wake up and go to a job so we can, create friends. We do it because we got to pay the bills. Bills never stop coming. So obviously, number one, it's money. But take that out of the equation now. I love helping people. I love making a difference. I love having an impact. I love being around people and creating relationships, as I mentioned. So it gives me the avenue or the ability to, serve those purposes of being around people, creating relationships, helping them, serving them. If I didn't have the money or the platform, if I wasn't doing what I did to do that, it wouldn't give me that opportunity to do those other pieces. So, some of the world's greatest philanthropists, the only reason they're philanthropists is because they have $1 billion. You can't be a philanthropist and, have good thoughts if you don't have any money or a way to help them. So there's nothing wrong with making money and helping people with it.
Why are those things important to you?
Helping people, I can tell you, number one is that had I had a little bit of a kick in the butt or a little bit of push in the right direction when I was started, I probably got to where I am a lot faster, number one. But number two, I have struggled and failed and hurdled in every possible scenario that if I can, even help one person overcome a hurdle or get around some drastic, overcome some big fear or something like that. If I can just help just one, then that's a good feeling. So that's why I do it. And like I said, I do it so I can actually help other people and live the life that my wife and friends and family want to live.
Why does that make you feel good when you help that other person and help them cut that learning curve?
So to that point, I have a little bit of a rule or a little bit of a thing I read somewhere or something when I was probably about 15, and that's the 33% rule. And I spend 33% of my time with people that are well above me, beyond me in business life, general, the whole nine yards. They're better people, better men, better followers of Christ, better businessmen, better economists, everything possible. 33% of my time, I'm just trying to rub shoulders with them. And then I spend 33% of my time with people that are at the same level with me, trying to get there, trying to consume, trying to learn, trying to grow. And then at the same time, the feel good part of both of those, there's not really a feel good part of rubbing shoulders with people that are constantly just making big wins and they're billionaires and everything else. There's not there's a lot of eye-opening experiences, but you don't have the opportunity to win. So how do I get around them? Is I try to provide them value, but that feels good. But the reality is the 33% that are behind me in life or making less money or haven't quite accomplished some certain things they want to accomplish, found the financial freedom, seeing them do that, that's for any human being that has any basic decency has to feel good about that.
As you're going along on your journey, do you take time to reflect on your mission, your vision, and really try to think about like where you want to go and what you want to achieve? Like, is that something that you think about pretty often?
To be honest with you, I set about 3 to 5 year goals. And sadly, I wish I could sit here and say I'm setting myself up for retirement and my end goal is this, but I don't feel like there is a finish line in what we do. Because the moment you pass the finish line, and to me, I feel like that would be the moment of giving up. So the finish line always moves for me, and I set 3 to 5 year goals. Do I always hit them? Absolutely not. But if I constantly focus on those goals every 3 to 5 years, a lot of things that I've accomplished has come from me just focusing in those very micro focused 3 to 5 year goal setting opportunities I have. And then hopefully by the end of this thing in life, I can, sit back and realize I did a good job getting to, when I turned 75 and retired and can enjoy it and lay back and, living a life as an old man. So
You mentioned how you've had a lot of obstacles and failures and setbacks. Can you talk about some of the biggest ones and how you overcame them?
Um, the first setback ever I really felt like I had in life that really dug deep was, not making it to play in Major League Baseball. I overcame that by transitioning the passion and my skill sets into the business world, entrepreneurship, because I felt like I had nobody else to blame. I had no hurdles. I had no one that could stop me from getting there. And that, again, it was just like baseball. It was reliant 100% on me to do the work and to create that opportunity. So it very much aligned with who I was growing up and how I was raised. So that's kind of how I feel like going into entrepreneurship, kind of saved me or helped me overcome that hurdle of basically never reaching the goal that I thought I was going to reach in life.
Were there any other big ones along the way?
Certainly, there's been some massive failures in business. Most recently, one of my partnerships with the original shark from Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. We launched an ad agency. We did well. We sold some products, millions of dollars worth of products, and took on a ton of clients. We had a ton of opportunities, some high network and net worth individuals that we completely. I wouldn't say we completely failed because you look back now, it's a learning opportunity, but. We didn't create the success. Obviously, we didn't go into that thinking we were going to be done in a couple of years, but Yeah, I mean, we didn't do a good job in that business. There's a lot of great people that were part of it that now since have created massive success, but it's a learning curve. There's success after now the fact that we're sitting here where we're at, but we bring on clients that we couldn't fulfill. We'd have goals that we'd set that we never hit, and we try to do things that were just probably a little bit out of our reach, but luckily, we overcame them, just moved on, carried on, went to the next opportunity, and continued to grow as people to get better. So when we did have those opportunities again, we could do better.
We've talked a lot about how you've gotten to where you are now, but can you take a second to really brag on yourself and tell us, like, where are you right now? Like what are you really focusing on as of this point, and how high up the mountain have you really climbed?
So right now, I'm focused on growing an asset with these e-commerce brands. I like to build and sell, and then turn that money into the next opportunity. So what I'll probably do is hopefully build this asset, all these e-commerce stores, for the opportunity to sell again, and then I'll probably go right back in doing the same thing, build another asset, so I can build and sell. So right now, I mean, I don't think there's another business on the planet that manages 300 plus Shopify stores and brands. There's very few non-Fortune 500 companies that are spending as much money as we are on advertising every month. And we're probably touching products. I know we're touching products from around the world, but we're probably outside of Amazon, and probably outside of Amazon, we're probably the next largest different product sales company in the world. I mean, you look at some of the largest websites that you think of that are retailers. Well, they're retailers. I'm just talking online. So you remove the retail business. I mean, the Wayfairs of the world, the House, something like that. Where, I mean, we sell all that products and more. So I don't think there's anybody else selling on as many stores and brands and scaling as many as we are.
How do you manage all of that?
A big team of really good people. That's bottom line.
Do you have like any sort of leadership philosophies that you feel are unique to what you're doing?
Man, that's a good question. So I really feel like leading by doing. So lead someone by doing what you want them to do and how you want them to do it is the easiest way to get to where you want to go. So before I ask somebody else to do something for me, typically I try to do it myself and figure out how I want it done. So I don't know if that's different or unique the way everybody else does it, but that's just kind of my style. I never want to be able to tell someone how to do their job if I've never done it themselves. And as an entrepreneur, there's many hats you got to wear. So by no means am I going to be the best at every role or position, but in this world, you do have the opportunity to learn enough to know what's going on so you can understand all parts of the business.
We've talked a lot about your professional life. Can you talk about what's been going on in your personal life this whole time?
Yeah, so I got married in 2015, met my wife while I was in college getting my master's degree in Nebraska. She's from a small town in southeast Nebraska. I think there's like 2,500 people in her town. We got married in 2015. We have traveled the world. We love traveling and seeing new things together. Right now, we live outside of Orlando, Florida, on a lake. We've got jet skis and we've got a ski boat, and we love fishing and we love the water. So our passion is obviously business, and then outside of that, I enjoy a sweet red wine with a nice cigar and driving the boat around. That's kind of how I live life, and hunting and fishing in the fall and in the winters. That's just kind of who I am.
What about traveling really gets you excited, and why are you so passionate about it?
I love the history of places. I mean, I love seeing new things, but I love when I go somewhere, I always want to know who was here before me and what happened here before I got there. One of the places we just recently went was Boston, just going down the Freedom Trail in Boston and walking past, Paul Revere's house and seeing, the graves of, John Adams and stuff. It's just, you see the history in just America. It's just, I love the stuff and see who was there prior to me and the history of places.
Why though? Like, why are you so passionate about history?
Yeah, so I believe that everything that we have now obviously stems from the decisions and the people who came before us. So hopefully, one day in the future, people will obviously look back and try to figure out who was there before me, and hopefully, my name somehow or another is on that trail that they cross.
When you think about legacy, are you trying to build a legacy the size of like a Vanderbilt or Rockefeller or a Ben Franklin? Or, how big do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I think legacy is a strong word because people know of the Jeff Bezos and the Elon Musk of the world for the money that they've created. We always look at how rich people are. So by no means is that a part of my passion. I'm not looking to say, yeah, I became the richest man in the world or I something like that. But honestly, the legacy side is like I want as many people as possible to say that guy helped me or that guy was a part of me changing something. It sounds a little cliche, and it's definitely internet marketing strategy number 101. But the reality is, I mean, there's no better feeling than helping other people. And the more people you help, I feel like, that's the legacy you leave. So
One of in my opinion, the foundations of humanity is connection. And I feel like a lot of what you were talking about earlier, about really understanding your customer and figuring out where they are and what they want and what they need. A lot of that seems like it's very focused in on connection, right? You need to have a connection with the customer. So I'm interested in learning, what is your philosophy on developing deep, meaningful connection with another person?
I ask people what their story is, number one. I'll sit on a subway train and just look at the person next to me and say, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Cody. What's your story?" And just let them talk. That's kind of how I do it. Everyone has a story, and they're so amazing. I mean, there's so many humans in the world, and they've all done so many cool things and been so many places and whatnot. So, listening to other people's stories is the easiest way to make connections. If it happens where they ask me my story, I enjoy sharing it. But the reality is, I've created more friendships on asking other people what their story is than me ever talking. So it's the easiest way to make a friendship is let somebody else talk and then you listen.
How do you sustain and nurture that friendship over time?
Oh, nowadays it's easy. You got social media, you got cell phones. I mean, you can call and text and share and post and invite them, anywhere in the world with you via one touch of your cell phone. So it's always fun to follow people's stories and watch their Snapchats and their Facebook stories and whatnot now to the use of the internet.
So it seems like that's more just following up and just being there time and time again.
Oh yeah, I mean it's always. I think people that want to be a part of your life, they'll make a point to figure out how to do that. And so as long as you're sharing it and showing everybody what you do and how you do it and where you're doing it at, I mean the ones that really want to follow you will follow you, and then vice versa. That same goes for me. The people I want to follow and watch and see, I'm doing the same thing. I'm watching their stories. I'm interacting with their posts. So that's kind of how. I mean, it's as easy as that, really.
Some people I've noticed are they're pretty guarded, right? I mean, you may ask them their story and they're happy to share that, but when you try to go deep with them, they're a little bit guarded. The walls are up, and I'm totally guilty of that myself from time to time. How do you break down those walls? How do you really get to know somebody at their core, to really develop a bond with them at their core?
I believe asking them their story, maybe sharing your story a little bit with them, and sharing. Eventually, once you open up to someone else feels comfortable enough to open up with you. So typically, I'll try to mirror the individual, figure out their story, figure out where there's a hardship, and try to find a relatable story that I can share to get them to continue going deeper.
What's your greatest theory?
Ha, shoot, I don't have a clue. Theories. I think my greatest theory, I guess, is I totally believe in manifesting things. And it's crazy as it sounds, but I mean, I believe if you think of something so much and you put so much energy into something and you you literally mentally, physically, emotionally, and everything invest in that thing, that it will come true. I believe in the theory of manifesting things. It sounds crazy, but I mean, how else do you accomplish something if you don't focus on it, right?
Can you take us through that process for you? Because I'm sure you have a very specific meaning to that in your mind, but and I'm also sure that everybody has a different way that they think about it. So can you walk us through your process?
Yeah. So prior to me ever making $1 million and having money in the bank, I always thought and act like and talk like I had $1 million in the bank. And, I tried to be around and do, and I just assumed, yeah, eventually I might not have, two commas in the bank account right now, but when I do, nothing's going to change because I'm already going to be there doing it. So that's my entire mentality is the same way when I talk about selling myself. When people ask me if I can do something, I say, yes, yeah, I can do that. Sure. I've already done that before. I might never have, but I feel so confident about it that I don't even stress about it. I'll figure it out. I'll do it, get it done.
So when you're thinking about that thing and you're focusing on that thing and you're acting like it's already happened, I mean, how do you then change your action, right? Because if you've never done it before, or you've never gotten there, it's hard to know exactly what it feels like to be in that state of mind. Like, how do you fully get into that?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned before, I don't feel like there's ever a finish line. So when I do get there, I don't know where the end is. So I feel like, man, I'm not there yet. Um, so even right now, I mean, I'm definitely a lot further than I was 10 years ago in life, both financially with relationships and my trust and everything and everybody around me. But I still don't feel like I'm there yet. So I'm still focusing on being that person and being the best I can be and getting to where I want to go. And I know, I mean, if I take a step back, I know I'm a lot further than I was 10 years ago, but I'm not quite there yet. Always, I just keep that mentality of I'm always not quite there, but I'm living like I am. I'm living like I'm already there. I've already reached it. I've already surpassed it. I've already been there, done that. And talk, eat, breathe, act, grow, focus. I mean, read books, everything possible that you got to do. Like that's what you do when you're already there. So I don't know when the finish line is going to come, but act like I've already crossed it, already gone there. There's never going to be in my foreseeable future. I'll never feel like I have crossed the finish line.
When you're thinking about that thing, like where you want to go, who you want to be, how do you laser focus in and decide, okay, that's the thing that I want? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle with figuring out, okay, this is the thing that I want, because there's option A, B, C, D, E, F, and an infinite amount of options. And I feel like a lot of people struggle making that decision. So how do you go about making that decision about like where you really want to go, who you really want to be, what you really want to try to accomplish?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a little mix. I mean, I just write down my goals. Here's the top 3 things I want to do and who I want to be and what I want to accomplish. And I start at number 1, and I just focus enough and make that thing happen. When it does, I go to number 2. And when that happens, I go on to number 3. And then when they're all gone, I create another list and just keep going and keep doing that. Just creating those lists, prioritize them. And everything that I do, everything that I think of, I mean, every decision I make is focused on that one thing. And if it doesn't involve that one thing, my answer is typically no. If it does not involve some way, shape, or form that one thing that's at the top of my list, I'm not doing it. I'm not going. I mean, it's the old friends ask you to go out on a Friday night and you got stuff to do. I mean, the answer is no. I got this to do. It doesn't pertain to make it. Now, if a friend asks me to go out and there's going to be people there that are going to create me a business relationship, whatever, you're going to see me out there with a beer in my hand, rubbing shoulders and talking and asking people stories. And I mean, it's kind of got some little self-interest to that, but the reality is, I mean, you got to have, no one else is looking out for you. You got to look out for yourself somehow. So, you got to have a fine line there too for you, so you don't get a little narcissist. But you got to just say no sometimes, and you got to make sure you're focused on that one thing.
So you're talking about how you write down like the 1, 2, 3 goals, and you focus on that one thing. But how do you know what those 3 goals are? How do you decide these are the 3 most important things to me?
Well, I know for a fact. I ask my wife. So, I mean, for example, we want to have kids. I can't have kids without her. So, it's a goal that we write down. Hey, you want to have kids? Yeah. Okay, good. That's on the top of the list. So, I mean, simple as asking the people around you. Sometimes, obviously, you got to ask before you can do those things. And then outside of that, in business, I mean, you've got relationships and people and opportunities that you've sold yourself into. You just got to look at them and see which one is the one that you want to do. What is the one that's going to make you the most happy? Which one are you going to be able to make the most impact? What's going to make you the most money? Whatever it may be. Those are the questions that you need to go through to figure out what that one thing is.
What do you think that the purpose of life is, right? Like why do you think?
What a deep question. The purpose of life, man. I mean, I ask Siri this sometimes, and they give me an answer and gives me some infinite response. But the purpose of life, man. Sometimes I wake up and I wonder what is the purpose. But to be honest, I know, and I don't. I'm not. Listen, I do not beat this drum. But I do know that if I don't declare it to the world, then it's never going to happen to me. So I know the purpose of life is to serve my one God, Jesus Christ, honestly. And outside of that, if I'm not doing that and focused on that, I can't do anything else because, as they say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So if I focus on that, all these other goals are just easy to accomplish if I'm living that way. So that's got to be the purpose of life. And it does not have to be Christianity. It doesn't have to be a certain religion, but I believe everyone has their religion or their belief or their greater power that they have to believe in. That's the purpose of life. You got to figure out what that is first, and then you can do everything else after that.
As you're going about and accomplishing all these things and wearing all these different hats, it seems like your identity has to be evolving over time. So who do you see yourself as? How would you describe yourself to another person?
Yeah, it's a kind of a mix between Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. I want to be infinitely as rich as I can be and doing crazy cool things and changing the world and all that. But at the same time, I want to be smoking a cigar in the middle of a mountain. So if you mix them two and they had some kind of spur baby together in their personalities, that's kind of how I'd want to be. I want to be salt of the earth, but I want to make a big impact. And the only way I can make an impact is by doing creative things and make as much money as possible.
So, Cody, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing everything that you have and being willing to explore those places that I was asking about. I know, and I was asking some tough questions, so I appreciate you.
Hey, yeah, anytime.
Going along with me.
I'm glad I can be here. Yeah, I hope everybody in the social media world. What'd you say? How many platforms there were live right now?
Live. I believe we're on 17 platforms right now.
17. I didn't even know those existed. So I can name about 5 of them.
Well, yeah, just have a couple more questions for you. Then cool. We'll wrap it on up. Cool. Is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that I did not ask you about today? In other words, what did I miss?
I'm the youngest of 5 kids. Every single one of us has taken a different path in life. And none of those paths are better than the other. My mom and dad, they met because my dad was in the Navy and my mom broke down on the side of the road. And I'll forever be grateful for the fact that my mom's car broke down. So, so other than that, I mean, I love to hunt and fish. I love to help people. I love, obviously, e-commerce. I'd be a fool if I didn't say I love my wife, obviously. And that's pretty much as simple as it gets.
I'm 24, and I want to know what question or questions should I be asking you, specifically me, asking specifically you with your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, your genius, that I just wouldn't think to ask?
Great question. And that's probably one of them. So asking the people around you what you need to know. Honestly, The biggest thing that I know is important for uh, creating success is learning from as many people as possible, but by no means thinking that one person is the end all be all for how you got to live. You don't have to Gary V grind it, 24 hours, and you sure the heck don't need to be doing the 4 hour work week, Tim Ferriss's of the world, you got to mix and match those things. And just take as much as you can from every individual. I'd ask that question: what's the one thing I can take from you and carry on in life? Because everyone's successful in their own right, and I mean, I no way in shape or form follow any one person. I know that.
Could you answer that question? The one thing I should take from you?
Yeah. So the one thing I would say take from me is the living with a 33% rule, and that's trying to surround yourself with people that are doing better than you, and they don't have to be, infinitely better than you, but they have to be somewhat doing something more than you can or have done or have accomplished. But remembering always to spend some time with the people that aren't where you're at. So behind you, below you, whatever. The moment you just hang out in your own little pod or the people better than you, whatever, you're not doing the world any service, at all. So that's what I would say.
Cody, I want to thank you again for coming on the show and sharing this time with me. It's truly been an honor to speak with you, and I want to thank you very much for that. And I also want to acknowledge you and give you a shout out for all the good that you're doing in the world, and the product that you're moving and getting in people's hands that really need it, and the people that you're helping to pay for their mortgages and their kids' schools and their livelihoods and their retirements. And I want to thank you for everything that you do for the world, and I want to thank you for the time that we've been able to share today.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ben. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to everybody who's watching, listening, no matter when you're watching or listening, I want to thank you very much. And I want to say thank you for supporting the show, for being here with us, for sticking it through all the way till the end. I love y'all very, very much. And I will see you on the next.